Solar value 38, the Queen of Diamonds, the Mercury card on the Saturn line. And as we know from previous videos, the Saturn line is characterized by plenty of odd cards. And those are the planetary cards for the Queen of Diamonds. Now, what I haven't mentioned in all my videos is that there is a so-called personality card, and that's the court card of the suit you were born under. Now, if you were born under a personality card in the diamond suit, and that is a queen, and you're a woman, or in other words, if you're a woman with the Queen of Diamonds birth card, you already have your personality card as your birth card. So you can't even switch and act out that personality card because you are it already. So that Queen of Diamonds woman has not an unfortunate but not an easy life path, because it's characterized by a lot of changes. And Saturn, we know, is the teacher. So there's lots of lessons in each of the departments, from Mercury to Uranus. And only when we come to Neptune at the end of the Queen of Diamonds' life, we encounter the Queen of Spades. So there's another odd card. So it's all odd cards, but at least there is a mastery card there under Neptune, which is very powerful and very interesting, because it's self-mastery in the realm of dreams and visions and ideals. So almost as if the Queen of Diamonds has done its duty for this in this lifetime and is preparing itself for another lifetime, but now with that influence of the Queen of Spades. If we go through the cards just briefly, we find a 5 of Hearts in Mercury. We find a 3 of Clubs in Venus. We find a 3 of Spades in Mars. We find a 9 of Hearts in Jupiter. We find a 7 of Clubs in Saturn. And we find a 5 of Diamonds in Uranus. And as I mentioned, that Queen of Spades in Neptune. So all odd cards that make for a lot of change in the Queen of Diamonds' life. In general, the Queen of Diamonds is the preserver of values, because the queens have that preserving element. On the other hand, it's the second highest card in the suit of values and the suit of money and material things. So that Queen of Diamonds will love to spend money. Robert Kemp said that the Queen of Diamonds has 3 to 4 marriages, so they probably take a long time before they do settle, maybe courtesy of that 5 of Hearts in Mercury and that very restless 3 of Clubs in Venus. Quite possible. So if you know of someone who is born under the Queen of Clubs, then you know, maybe you can relate. Birthdays are shown for the Queen of Diamonds. So compare it and see if the following explanation makes sense. Referring to the notes, we learn that for the Queen of Diamonds, life is a journey of aligning values with vision, and that the card carries a mature and refined energy. Someone who has learned to lead not just through intellect or charm, but by embodying their ideals. As we explore those 8 planets, we'll discover how that Queen of Diamonds draws power from practical beauty, emotional discipline, and mental refinement. 3 of Clubs in Venus and 7 of Clubs in Jupiter. It's not 7 of Clubs in Jupiter, it's 7 of Clubs in Saturn. It's a 9 of Hearts in Jupiter. Right. Starting off with Mercury, first curveball in a way, 5 of Hearts. It reveals a flexible and emotionally curious mind. Communication for the Queen of Diamonds isn't rigid, it flows, explores, and adapts. And there's often a youthful desire to understand how people feel, especially in changing environments. But with that curiosity comes the need to avoid emotional impulsiveness, 5, Hearts, impulsiveness, emotional, 5, the impulsiveness. When balanced, this placement gives the Queen her empathetic listening skills and subtle emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence, beautiful. 5 of Hearts. 5s are mental cards, like 3s. And here with that Five of Hearts in the position of the mind, that's where the emotional intelligence comes from. So they can tune into people. And tuning into people on the emotional side obviously helps them, so being diamonds values oriented, and helps them manifest things at the same time. So they can use that quality rather beautifully. But the five is also prone to restlessness, to changes. So with that, their thinking may be quite erratic at times, especially when it comes to the emotions. So and not relationships, but sort of how they display emotions. Could be cold, could be hot, could be cold, could be hot. The five makes for that, but in Mercury that is amplified. So that Queen of Diamonds needs to ensure that it eases its mind when it comes to anything emotional or feeling. It needs to stabilize itself, because that Five of Hearts is not really providing stable energy in the domain that is driven by quick communication, by changes, by mental things. That is Mercury. As we move to Venus, we find the Three of Clubs. Robert Kemp calls it the panic attack card, but it's also the author's card, the card of the spoken and the written word. So they can communicate. They can communicate clearly. Once again, if they manage that Five of Hearts under Mercury and ride on the Three of Clubs under Venus, they can be very persuasive, because they can talk and they are very creative when it comes to the mind. And in Venus, it's all about relating on an intimate level, but also relating on a broader level. So they can make use of that fine mind to communicate clearly and to drive through their value points, because after all, they are Queen of Diamonds. Creative, sometimes scattered, but always thoughtful. It gives the Queen of Diamonds a flair for verbal artistry and charm in social settings. Love may come with indecision. That's the downside of the three. Indecision, mental, deciding. Indecision, 3 on the low side, or a pull between multiple values or possibilities. Yet this restless intellect often produces some of her most inspired expressions, especially in artistic or relational settings. That's when it's handled on the high side. Restless intellect often produces some of the most inspired expressions. Not much to say here other than words, written, writing, speaking, creative expression on the mental side in relation to other people. On the downside, being erratic, being undecided in terms of knowledge, so the intellect, the clubs in relational settings, the Venus position, indecision or pull between multiple values or possibilities, something like that. In Mars, we find the Three of Spades. That's another black 3, and we had this with the previous cards where we had pairs of 2 red 4s and 2 black 6s with the Jack of Diamonds. Now we've got the Queen of Diamonds, and we have 2 black 3s. Three of Spades. It's the artist card in Mars, a card of divided action and internal conflict. Not an easy placement. It challenges the Queen to bring coherence to her ambitions. Coherence means order, structure once again. We're not even at Saturn yet, which is, with that 7 of Clubs, another odd card and a challenging card, because Saturn, we get to that. 7 of Clubs, card of spiritual knowledge, but also the card of negative thinking. So they have to guard against that. Here with that 3 of Spades, can be very erratic. It's very creative in a way, and can drive that this energy forward quite successfully under Mars. But there can also be a tendency to start multiple efforts. It just goes in all directions, unsure of which one will succeed, leading to burnout or frustration. When matured, however, this placement brings resilience and the courage to follow unconventional but meaningful work paths. So the Queen of Diamonds with a functioning 3 of spades, it brings her resilience and the courage to follow unconventional but meaningful work paths. Once again, diamonds driven by values, by money, but the solution here lies on unconventionality and meaning, not necessarily money. And I think a lot of Queen of Diamonds can attest to that. Under Jupiter, we find a 9 of Hearts. 9 of Hearts is a semi-fixed card, which means it's tied to that 7 of Diamonds and double Venus. And here, that is a deeply spiritual and generous card, because 9s are about generosity, about letting go. But here, it's in the Hearts department. And this is nice because Jupiter expands what it touches, and the 9 of Hearts is not necessarily a bad card. Its true place is in the spiritual spread, is in the double Venus position. So be generous with your emotions, or with your feelings. Understand that on the emotional side, things often come to an end, or pretty much always come to an end, and that it's time to let go because something better or more appropriate or more apt is waiting for you. So we shouldn't hold on to endings. We should make space. We should understand, okay, this thing or person or setting or relationship has served its time. Now it's time to let it go and let it pass on. This endows the Queen of Diamonds with the potential for emotional expansion, letting go, forgiving, and even guiding others through matters of the heart. It signals a destiny that thrives when she releases outdated emotional attachments, that's 9 of Hearts, and steps into a broader love for humanity, because the 9 of Hearts is the card of universal love, and universal means humanity. Philanthropy, teaching, and emotional wisdom become natural expressions here. Philanthropy, because the Queen of Hearts can make a lot of money, but here it needs to be generous and it needs to be philanthropic and use that money for the sake or the love, broader love for humanity. Emotional wisdom. You've gone through all those 8 numbers. You've arrived at the 9. Now it's time to let go, to manifest 10, one level up on with the 10 of Hearts. And once you know, it's cool, because that which is yours can never be taken from you. Memories, experiences. So even though the outer circumstances, people, places, jobs, relationships change or may come to an end, that which is yours stays with you forever. And here for that Queen of Diamonds with that 9 of Hearts in Jupiter, that's where the benefit, that's where the blessings, that's where the expansion comes from. So if the Queen of Diamonds holds on to the money and becomes like almost like self-enamored, in love with the self, narcissistic, that will backfire big time, because then the expansion under that 9 of Hearts in Jupiter cannot take place. We come to Saturn, the teacher, the discipline. And here we find the 7 of Clubs. Saturn's lesson is discipline over doubt. 7 of Clubs is the card of spiritual knowledge, spiritual 7 knowledge clubs. In Saturn, this is where the teaching is. This is where the lessons need to be learned. And on the downside, the 7 of Clubs is about negative thinking. So they need to master their mind in a way. They need to go within in order to find strength and stability and power, because that 8 of Clubs would be the natural progression of that 7 of Clubs. But if they're not, then they couldn't be prone to negative thinking. And especially with that odd cards dominated life path, not dominated, but sort of filled life path of the Queen of Diamonds, that it's quite possible that sort of they give in. But here's the reminder: mental challenges and spiritual tests arise, and there's a pressure to maintain clarity in the face of misinformation or negative thinking. The Queen of Diamonds may struggle with inner voices that undermine her self-worth or plans, yet if she can silence those doubts and ground her thoughts, grounding the thoughts, 8 of Clubs, progression of the 9 for the 7 of Clubs. This placement becomes a lighthouse of spiritual conviction and wisdom, because it it brings something unstable, the 7 and the clubs, into the realm of a placement that wants and desires or requires stability at this point of a person's evolution. At least that's how we've defined Saturn. That's the properties or the qualities that we've bestowed on Saturn. After the expansion of Jupiter, now we need order and structure. We need to solidify it. And now it gets that sort of very jittery and self-doubt and negative thinking and lack of self-confidence card with that 7 of clubs. And is reminded to work on that in order to elevate the thinking. Clubs elevate, in other words, develop the power. Go within, find the truth within. Once again, a spiritual connection. That's why it's a 7. And then you develop that really fixed power of that 8 of clubs. And then that is no longer a problem or an issue. But that shows you how this is all related, how the evolutionary process needs to be considered, and not a card or a card seen in isolation. Isolation is no subject for Uranus, because Uranus is about breaking things up. It's about freedom, and it's not about this. But after that 7 of clubs, which is more like in Saturn, there's the 5 of diamonds in Uranus, the seeker of worth. And Uranus brings a dynamic push through this card because it's a card of change in the material world. 5 is about changes, fluctuations, restlessness, ups and downs, ups and downs. And diamonds is the material world. And this gives the Queen her innovative Uranus flair with money, values, and freedom. 5 of diamonds. Traditional paths may not appeal, and she's here to explore and experiment. Especially, or amplified, under Uranus. So there's an explorative, experimental energy and quality within that 5 of diamonds by default, and now that sort of gets almost like turbocharged or super boosted under Uranus, especially with unconventional lifestyles or careers. Explore and experiment, try out new things. Because if your path so far hasn't led you to a position where you're content, where you're happy, where you also have a certain amount of stability, then change it. When aligned, the displacement becomes a generator of fresh ideas that challenge outdated systems and redefine personal success. This placement becomes a generator of fresh ideas that challenge outdated systems and redefine personal success. Because, I mean, that's 5 of diamonds energy. To challenge outdated systems, once again, it gets that boost from Uranus, where it's about other people, where it's about technology, where it's about Earth, real estate, breaking things up, ending cycles, breaking out, having a different take on things. And that 5 of diamonds energy really plays into the Uranus quality. That brings us to Neptune and lane change. 5 of diamonds, last card on the Saturn line. On the Neptune line, on the Uranus line, in the Neptune position, we find the Queen of Spades. It adds a mystical layer of inner mastery. This card suggests that her spiritual path involves self-refinement, solitude, and deep inner work. And that makes perfect sense with all those odd cards on the Saturn line. She may be drawn to sacred arts, mysticism, or behind-the-scenes leadership. And at its best, this placement gives her a serene and magnetic authority born from personal trials and earned wisdom. Neptune, more the later years of our life. First, we have that really not explosive, but very dynamic, changing Uranus energy, which is lovely. And then sort of it's almost as everything collapses into that Queen of Spades and Neptune. The Neptune, again, is like about vision, healing, very ephemeral, ethereal, fluctuating, not really fixed, can confuse us, can deceive us. But with that Queen of Spades, here comes that deep inner work, self-mastery, and the second highest card of the entire deck. Magnetic authority, born from personal trials and earned wisdom. At its best, this placement gives her a serene and magnetic authority born from personal trials and earned wisdom. And once again, the sooner you know, the more you can integrate those qualities into the rather unstable life path of the Queen of Diamonds. Then we are jumping into Pluto. We find the Jack of Clubs. It brings transformation, a youthful thinker, a messenger, a student of ideas, and the Genius card. Mental genius. The Queen's evolution demands mental flexibility and humility. She must constantly question what she knows, staying open to growth and unlearning. And in doing so, she becomes a wise teacher, not because she knows it all, but because she never stopped learning. So the transformation, ego, death, comes here through the Jack of Clubs. And the Jack of Clubs brings in that youthful energy, brings that brilliant mind. And the brilliant mind is never a static mind. The brilliant mind is always one that is open to ideas, open to criticism, open to learning. And that's the reminder here and the lifelong theme of transformation for the Queen of Diamonds. Yes, you're a queen. Yes, you're in a court. And now you're getting a very, very flexible card as your Pluto card. Keeps reminding you to stay open, stay fresh, also to grow up. And it may sound a bit odd because it's a queen, so they should be grown up. But remember that 7 of clubs in Saturn. And that may prevent them from growing up and understanding their life path, understanding the challenges that they've been given, and really facing up to them and say, okay, I make the best of it. Because each of those cards has immense positive aspects, positive qualities. It's just that you need to know them in order to harness them, in order to harvest them as well. So it's not about surface sparkle here, it's about living in alignment with truth, refinement, and generosity. We see a interesting roadmap, a dance between emotion, mind, spirit, and matter. Each one points to a part of a journey, and when woven together, they tell a powerful story of graceful mastery. And I think that's a lovely sentence to finish off this comparatively short, extended version, about 22 minutes of the Queen of Diamonds, a beautiful one. So here, now that card that has come into this life with that refined sense of value and an inner compass, what truly matters. It's not about surface wealth, it's about meaningful influence expressed through wisdom, grace, and generosity. Magnificent. If you liked it, you know what to do. Birthdays are once again shown here on the screen. And once again, share it with others, other Queen of Diamonds, so that they, especially if they've had like a trying and testing life, share with them this information. Bring Cardology closer to them, if that's what you would like to do. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. In the sequence, it would be the last card of the Diamond Suit, the King of Diamonds, or any other video on this channel or in this package. Once again, thank you very much. I shall remain with peace and blessings. And quick reminder, if you want or desire a coaching, a consultation on a card, on a relationship, in terms of business, in terms of partnership, in terms of bringing up children, the interaction or the conjunction, rather the dynamics rather than conjunction, the dynamics that two cards generate and how to best handle them, then I'll show you the QR code, I'll show you the address, and you can get in touch there. It's a German site, but you know which option to pick, or if not, go to the contact page, ask me, and I'll give you the answer. Until next time, thank you very much once again, and bye-bye.